Oh, that's classic right there. They don't make comedy like that anymore. How about it? We are talking about putting first things first this month. We're talking about it. Sometimes people kind of go, why does the church need to talk about finances and resources? Well, really, the question is, why did Jesus do it? Because he did it all the time. The Bible is just kind of full of God's perspective on this. And Jesus says this is an important topic because there is this direct nerve that the doctors haven't found yet, but he goes, there's a direct nerve right from our heart right to our wallets. Money is important to us. It really is. It's the economy, stupid, right? That's the line in politics there, right? You can have a lot of things wrong, but if you get the money right, everybody is kind of okay. Because there's that direct line from our hearts to our wallets. Jesus said, it's not so much I'm worried about your wallets as much as I am worried about your hearts. And so I've got to deal with one, I've got to deal with the other. And so Jesus in Matthew 6 today is talking pretty boldly about this. He's going to go right into the heart of this thing and say, hey guys, if we're going to really talk seriously about your relationship with me, if we're going to talk serious about the things of your life, the important things, we've got to talk about this. And he drops this big line. He goes, look, you've got to understand first things first here is that you can't serve two masters. Who has masters in their life? Is he talking about having two jobs? Is he talking about having two different dreams in your life? No, he's talking about actual masters. He's going, look, there's only so many things that you can answer to. In fact, there's only one that you can ever answer to, that you kind of is the guiding force of your life. Kind of like in baseball here, of going, how many first bases are there? There's only one. You never see a guy hit the ball and run straight past the pitcher to the second base, do you? There's only one first base. There can't be two first bases. It just doesn't work that way. In life, you only can serve one master. And so Jesus sets us up of going, really the two things that are competing most for our attention, our loyalty, our direction in life is really either God or our resources. That's a pretty bold statement. It really is. That's kind of getting right up into your face of going, look, it's got to be one way or the other. There's no kind of middle way. There's no way to kind of satisfy one and satisfy the other. You've got to know who's on first. That's really what this is about. You can't jump to second base. You've got to answer who's on first in your life. That's about getting first things first. What's interesting is he doesn't talk about having two jobs. He's not putting this into going, you can have two employers. He really is using very strong language that we don't identify with. The master-slave relationship, because you only can be owned by one. You only can belong to one. There is no place in society for you to really have this split loyalty. And he goes, for you to figure this out has a lot of implications for your life. So he gives us this big, bold statement, and now he's kind of going to work out throughout the rest of chapter 6 of going, here are the consequences of what happens when you don't get first things first, when you don't answer this question most of all, of who is really running my life. So he goes on to say there are two things that we tend to do as human beings. The first is that we chase after things. He goes on, look, this is what those that don't trust in God at all do. They chase after, what am I going to have for today? Now, he just puts it in terms of like food and drink and clothing, But you understand when you read the sermon, he's really talking about kind of all of life, of going, what is driving my life? Am I getting the things that I want? Am I getting the things that I need? And they chase after this stuff. And we know what this is. We feel it. This isn't just kind of like, oh, those other people. This is our everyday life. This is that runaround thing. Us Americans, we have perfected this. So you earn money, you go buy stuff, you consume that stuff, and all that does is really go, I want more stuff. And so I've got to earn more money, and I've got to go buy more stuff. And we run around circle and circle and circle with this. Our culture has perfected this idea of going, more stuff, more pursuit satisfies me. And Jesus calls it out and says, this is a lie. This is a lie. This is not what you were built for. This is not what you were designed for. This is basically sugar water, right? When I worked on a construction crew building a house, I brought a big thing of soda one day. I said, I'll provide the drinks. And my boss stood there and go, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. You're not going to want to drink that. Because on this hot July day, you're going to drink one can, and you're never going to stop drinking. And you're just going to do one can after another, and you're going to sweat it right out. And that sugar is just going to make you crave more and more. You need the pure water. You need ice water to cool your body down, to satisfy the true thirst. But we put sugar in it. We go, we need these things. And we chase. And our society is set up to sell us this stuff. Your life will be better. You'll be 2 inches taller. I don't need that product. I'll lose a little bit of padding. There's something that's out there that's going to make me better, that is going to finally satisfy this urge, this need, this longing, and we chase after it, and if we can't afford it, we go out and we get that second job so we can finally afford it. We go get a credit card so we can finally not really afford it, but at least get it, We'll be paying for it for the next 3 years. We chase after things. When you go, my what is more important than the who, when we get those bases reversed, we go, what I need, what I want is the most important thing in my life, and goes, it lands you in a ditch. It will never satisfy, and it will destroy your life. Now, on the other end of things, he goes, the other thing that we tend to do are those that maybe have run down this road and have learned, or those that were just smart enough to figure it out in the first place. They keep. They cling. They go, well, I'm not going down that road of going, you know what, I'm going to get into high debt. I'm not going to get into just kind of spending as fast as I can. But man, what I have, I'm going to make sure I keep. I keep this so that the things that I get are mine, and as long as I'm gathering this to myself, I want to make sure that it stays mine. Jesus puts it this way. He goes, do not store up treasures here on earth. Now, the immediate response is, well, does this mean Jesus says don't have a savings account? No, that's ridiculous. That would contradict a lot of other places in the Bible where it talks to us about being responsible and making sure that we have our finances in order and that we're taking care of our families. That's kind of the straw man that we run to, the easy knockover argument of going, well, I don't really have to listen to this. But Jesus is saying something really important here. When we imagine the things that we are given as only for ourselves, and the more that I can kind of keep and hold together, the better off I am. And here's the tricky part of this, is you look really good. You look responsible. You look like I've conquered this kind of financial thing here in life. You are kind of esteemed a little bit because you have been able to amass. But Jesus says, watch out. Both extremes are dangers. What becomes of this is that you are really serving one master. One whips you, the other one is kind to you, but it's still a master. The more that you have, the more you worry about losing. The more that you have to spend on keeping it all together. This is a picture of Scrooge, right? Scrooge had no problem not being frivolous. He just went, all of this is for me and only me. Everybody else, you get your own. This is only for me. Jesus is going, this is what breaks your life in two. Both are foolish. Both are dangerous. To chase and let it drive you, to cling to it, and say, this is really what my life is all about. The stuff that I have and how much I can have. He actually kind of nails this thing. He goes, here's what happens. When you go one of these two routes, you're really going, I'm serving my resources. I'm serving the things that kind of feed into my life. He goes, it has but one result, and that's worry. And so he comes out with this, here's where I want you to go. This is where I want you to be. I want you to hit this middle spot of going, I'm not at either extreme, but so that I do not worry about the things of my life. I'm telling you what, there's a lot of things that we mess up in our life and we don't quite follow through on God. But I got to say, this has got to be near the top of the list. You know, finances are the number one tension in marriages. Finances kind of get right to the root of who we are and where we want to go and what we want to be about. And man, it brings out the deepest amount of stress and worry in our life. Jesus knows what he's talking about here. Now, if we go back to those two, we get the one where, there's a little bit of a recklessness there of how you're going about finances and you're just kind of consuming. And we get that. But he's going, worry is also part of the clinging. Why do we amass? Why do we go, we want to make sure that we have all, so that I'm always secure, so that I always know that I have what I need. How much in control are you with that? There are so many things that come along in life that can knock that stuff off altogether. It's not about being irresponsible. Understand that. It's about going, where does my security come from? And if you think you are safe and secure because of a number on a statement, Jesus said, watch out. Because while the waters are steady right now, worry lurks just beneath the waters. Because numbers change, statements change, life circumstances change beyond your control, no matter how much you think you can be prepared for it. Both lead to worry because they're about me controlling, me satisfying what I want. And he comes out with this ridiculous line of going, do not worry. That's where I want you to be. That's where I want you to orient your life, to a place where there is not this worry and this stress. And it's kind of a, well, thanks, Jesus. That's really great advice. I'd like to be there too, but I just don't know quite how to get there. Well, he gives us the solution here. He goes, the only pathway The only pathway is really, I'm going to go to this one, is to seek first the kingdom. Here we get this idea of getting first things first. When you focus on what do I have or what do I want, you're going to be out of order. The first thing you have to ask is, who's on first? If it's about me, we're going to land in worry. He goes, here's how you get this in proper order. Seek my kingdom first. Seek what I have built you for first. This actually starts with two things. The one is he goes, you can seek the kingdom first because you know what? I know what you need. He says the Father already is aware of the needs in your life. See, this is pointing back to last week's sermon. God is my provider. If you don't get that first thing in place, you'll never get any of this. If you go, no, God's just an advice giver, God is just a good luck charm, God is just kind of something else, and he's not the source, you have no option but to serve the other master. No choice. But your Father knows what you need. We can trust him. And when we can trust him, we can go, you know what? I'm going to seek what God wants. I don't need to pursue. I don't need to run after in this crazy way, in this consuming way of going, I'm making sure that I have provided for my own security, or that all these things that I would want to add into my life are really going to satisfy. They won't. God made you. He knows what's good for you. He's going to bring that fresh, cool, pure water into your life. One of the ways that we do this, one of the ways that we kind of counteract these two things and go, we seek the kingdom, is in giving, in generosity. This is what Rick Warren says. The only antidote to materialism and consumerism is giving. Because materialism and consumerism is about what I get or what I keep. But every time I give, my heart grows bigger. Every time I give, I become more like Jesus. This is not just about giving to church or giving to the project, or that would be a misapplication here. This is about a total life mentality of going, the things that God has provided me with, how I stay out of the danger of making me the focus of this all, is I see myself as being generous, and I give and I participate in things that are much larger than me. I help my friends, my family, I help the stranger. To give is a core value of who God is. When we're too busy chasing the things that we want to satisfy our souls, we miss everybody else's needs. When we're busy clinging and making sure that I have enough for me and my security and I'm trying to plan all this, I have no room for generosity. The only antidote is to begin to live life with open hands. Now, that doesn't mean to be foolish and, some people have gone to the extreme of this and going, I'm going to give away all my goods. That's not what Jesus is saying. He's going, live open-handed. Not just for the benefit of those that receive, but for your own soul's benefit. That's counterintuitive to us. That's not what we're taught. But this is what Jesus is saying. You only can serve one of two masters. There isn't a third option. There isn't a halfway point. Who is guiding your life with this? Do you trust him as provider? If you trust him as provider, it opens your hand in generosity. You give. You participate in being a blessing with so many other people. So that's really what it comes back to, folks, here, is from the video that we watched, first of all, who's on first? We want to say what I have or what I need is first and most important, but Jesus is going, who's on first base for you? If it's you, you've got this wrong. If you start to go, God, I want you first in my life. If I have you, I have all the security I need. If I have you, the true deep desires of my soul will be met. So, for the next installment of questions, remember we're just asking questions here this month. We don't have next steps. I want you to be kind of taking on the back of your connection card or on your sermon slip. There are 4 questions here coming out of the treasure principle. Things for you to reflect on, for you to take to God in prayer and say, where am I at? Show me, because you know what? I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to get this out of order. I want to put first things first, and I want to have you first, because that's what's good and good for me. That's the challenge that he puts to us today. Let's pray. Lord, our hearts are enticed away so easily. Our fear comes up and we cling to our goods out of a need for safety. We chase after things trying to feel longings, but Lord, you are the only one that can satisfy. Lord, help us to bring this not just under control, not just to a median place, but to get you in our first place of our life. Show us what that means. Speak to us through your word and to bring us to the good place of knowing that you will provide all good things.